What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show with me, Sean Sheehan, here on Sherdog.com. And I am back with another edition of the betting show for this week. This is the second betting show of this week. We talked through UFC Qatar already. If you haven't listened to that, please do. It's up here on YouTube and on Sherdog.com. I give my top 5 bets for that card. I also recap last week's betting card. And this episode, I'm going to look at some of the European events that are going on. I've got you 5 bets from the European events from this weekend. I think I got a few good prices here as well, but I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview as well of the cards going on here. Maybe a little bit of a quick preview over the next 10 minutes here of some of the big fights you need to be concentrating on this weekend. Obviously for these fights there aren't as many odds out, as many props. In fact, for Cage Warriors 198, we don't have the betting odds out yet, and that's, you could argue that's the card of the weekend. And maybe just talk about that quickly first, and then run into the bets I have. One bet I actually gave you a few weeks ago on a fight that fell out was Simone Patrizi against Chris Bungard, and I believe that was around the minus 150. That would definitely be something I would suggest to bet on here again. Patrizi, a guy with a 7-4 record, not the best record in the world, but I think him versus Bungard is going to be a fight where he has a lot of success. Like, I think Bungard is, again, he's a guy who can cause people trouble, and he can surprise people, I suppose, but not always either. I think Patrizi's is going to be a very, very good style matchup against him, and I think he'll end up winning that fight. Some of the other guys I think will win in that card as well. I really like Eimear Darcy in the main event against O'Neal Brown, obviously fighting for the title. Both guys who have been in this position before and been in massive fights before him, and the highly touted lightweight division in Cage Warriors. Like, Brown has been there for a long time now. Tugarov obviously coming in winning a big fight last time out, but I think Tugarov's wrestling, as he showed in that last fight, is just going to be too much for Brown here. I'm a big fan of Brown and always have been a big fan of O'Neal Brown, but he would definitely be my pick in that fight without a shadow of a doubt. Another guy who I think is a great chance of winning here, I believe he took the fighting shot. No, it's Shane Ingram. He's fighting Wellington Lopez. It's 3-0 Ingram against 7-4. If you listen to my interview with Oban Elliott from a few weeks ago, he actually mentioned Shane Ingram and talked about how good he is, and said like he's as good as some of the guys he'd be training with, who are in the UFC or who are on the verge of that. So a very, very interesting fighter to watch on the way up, and definitely a guy who I would be looking at here. I would suggest he'll probably be a big enough favourite. So he might be better off. If I was doing, let's say, a parlay of fighters from that, I would probably go Ingram, Patrizi, Tugarov, and I might just throw in Tim Wilde there as well. I like Oscar Onsworth. I always have. Don't be fooled by the record of Oscar Onsworth, 8-4-1. His last 2 fights in a row were Alfie Davis, the champion over in the PFL now, and Claudio Picella, who did great things over in PFL Europe. Like, he's won against some good guys before that on the scene, I suppose, on the way up. This is his first fight, I believe, in Cage Warriors, if I'm not mistaken. But he fought in Cage Warriors before. He actually fought Adam Cullen in his third ever fight. But I like him. He beat Lewis Monarch before as well over in PFL. He's a good fighter, but I just think the experience of Tim Wilde might see him through there. So looking forward to seeing that card of the weekend on Saturday night even. Right, let's jump into the bets here, and I'm going to start with Oktagon. So Oktagon have another very, very good card in Munich in Germany. Oktagon 80 with the lightweight title in the main event. Also some big fights under that. You've Popek against David Hosek. Christian Jungwirth against Nicholas Stoltz. Some big names there. A guy, two very, very good guys. Felix Klinkhammer, who's 10-0, really good prospect, fighting Mate Cortez. I like that fight an awful lot. But my first bet I'm going to give you for this week, I'm going to go for, and I might be killed here, I'm going against an Irish guy, but I'm going for Gokhan Asku, who's plus 150 against Dennis Frimpong. in a lightweight contender, which, you know, the lightweight title obviously on the line at the very top of this card. This could be the number one contender. I believe both guys are ranked 6 and 7 or something like that. And Oktagon have their own rankings. But I think Dennis Frimpong has improved an awful lot over the last few years. Like he had a very, very tough start to his career, losing 2 of his first 3 fights. But one of them was to George Staines after coming through the Oktagon. Tough, let's put it that way. But he's been unbeaten since and has improved along the way every time. Like, you even look at his amateur career before that as well. He's win over Solomon Simon, who last week won the Cage Warriors title. So that's a very, very good win as well. And that Robin Frank win, Aryan Tapal, some very, very good wins there. But going back watching some of Gokhan Asku, he's 33 years of age, 12-6-1. And again, he's another guy who's had a tougher start to his career. He's won 5 fights in a row. Like, his last loss was to Bogdan Grad, who fights Luke Riley, in the UFC this weekend, who I believe Dennis Frimpong was actually traded with. So it's funny how those things start to work out. I think the issue here, like a guy like Dennis Frimpong, who's a very, very, good, well-rounded fighter, but he likes to keep guys at the end of his jab and control. He's used to lads trying to take him down and trying to win a fight that way. I think for Asku, he will be trying to land those big shots. Like, he has some serious power on him. He's won 2 of his last 3 fights by submission as well, so he's very, very good on the ground also. But like, I think it was that Christian Mach fight that was up on YouTube. It was in over in Brave. That was an unbelievably big shot early in the fight. He's a very, very dangerous fight early. Lots of first round finishes, submissions, and knockouts. And I just think he is, like, he's at this stage of Dennis Frimpong's career, on the win streak that he's at, on the verge of a title. He's just a real potential banana skin. But Frimpong came through against Robin Frank. He might very well here. But when I saw that price plus 150, I really, really, really liked it. And I think it's the sort of price that is kind of hard to ignore. So that's my first bet of the week, Gokhan Asku, plus 150. My second bet of the week is also from Oktagon, and it's in that main event, and it is the lightweight fight. And I'm going for Mateusz Legierski to win against Attila Kormaz, and he is -1. He's actually -175 now. I believe he was -165 earlier, but I'll stick with it. I've watched him fight a good few times now, and I've always been I've been very impressed with him. Like, he's a really talented guy. Former welterweight champion. He was a very, very good record in the promotion. Obviously, at one stage he was undefeated at 8-0, lost to Los Queda, obviously last time out. He fought in KSW and places like that as well. Just a very, very talented guy. Has a win over Ronald Paradisa, who's also on this fight as well. The fantastic grappler, great chokes, armbars, takes the back, loads of submissions, loads of submissions as an amateur as well, but he also has big power and he's knocked lads out. Like, he's only defeat on the feet prior to the last time out was Roman Skabansky, who's a very, very talented fighter. And, his opponent, Attila Kormaz, he's been around for a good long while, 16-10. And, I mentioned, I believe in the last preview, maybe I didn't. He fought Shamrock, who's also fighting in the UFC this weekend, and he lost to him, lost to former Cage Warriors champion Aggie Sardang, and lost to Ronald Paradisa. So, but he did beat Makwan Americani and David Gallon as well, some guys. But when he does move up, I feel like there are issues there. Obviously, in a couple of those fights, the Shamrock fight, I believe, if memory serves me correct, grappling was the issue there, and I think grappling will be the issue again here. So I like Legierski on this one. Honestly, if you can get him anything under -200, I think that's a good price. I think he should be probably more of a favourite than that. I think he'll certainly win this fight, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. Right. Before I jump to my Cage Warriors burst, there's also an ACA card on this weekend, and a couple of interesting fights. The one guy that sticks out to me, I've watched him a few times before, Vitaly Bigdash. He's, again, a -175 favourite over Bittencourt. a lot of people talking about this Vyacheslav Yankosov. I believe his brother is a fighter. So now I probably should have checked that out before I went in here saying this. Hacker Diaz is going over, and he's a big underdog at plus 450 against one of their guys, Ali Sulaiman. So yeah, ACA, they always have amazing fighters coming out of there, and put on interesting stuff, along with the likes of KSW, Oktagon, and all the rest on the European scene. So definitely keep an eye out for that over the weekend. There's an LFA card as well this weekend if you want to go over short. But let's get to bet number 3. From Cage Warriors as well. And I'm going, this is one I kind of, I went back and forth on, but I'm going for the plus money guy in this fight, and I'm going for Aiden Lee at plus 110. Again, it's a fight I went back and forth on. He's fighting Damon Wilson. I watched a good few fights of both of these lads, and I just feel like, so this is basically your grappler against your striker. Wilson, a very good striker, very, very powerful. Aiden Lee, a very good grappler, 13 wins, 9 submissions. Now he's 10 losses in there as well at 30 years of age, but he's been in there with some very, very good guys. Andreas Binder, we saw last season a tough, and Alexander Loof, who's one of the best guys around. He's fought Henry Corrales and Aaron Pico and Saul Rogers in Bellator as well. Now, okay, he lost all those fights, but he's beaten Ludovic Klein. That'll tell you the place he can get to. But watching Wilson, I was very, very impressed with him. He's striking and his ability, but his takedown defense at 32 years of age. To me, I watched a couple of the older fights because he's had a lot of fights in Cage Warriors, so he's come through there. I just think the takedown defense might be an issue for him here, and if it is, especially early in the fight. What was the fight I was watching? God Almighty, was it maybe it was the Contender Series fight I was watching, where he just got taken down too easily at the start of that fight. Just taken down too easily, and against a guy like Aiden Lee, if that happens, he's going to get choked out. He just is going to get choked out. If he doesn't and he keeps the fight on the feet, the knockout is there because he's big power. But at plus money, in a fight like that where a guy is a very good submission artist against a guy with not the best takedown defense in the world, I must be foolish for not looking into that and not betting on it. So bet number 3 of the week is Aiden. I'm giving you 5 straight up bets here as well, rather than, and I kind of gave you the accumulator earlier on, so no flyer for this show. But the next bet I'm going to give you is Jordan O'Neill, and again, not the best price in the world. He's minus 250, but I really like him in this fight against Mitchell Good. Another guy coming out of obviously the top camp in this part of the world, I suppose, Fight Academy Ireland, up in Belfast. He's 3-0 in his career now. Had a really good amateur career as well, in there against a guy like Troy Gibson. I know on the local scene that was such a massive fighting. He beat Trevor McKingo as well, and 2 finishes in his first 3 fights. He also beat Charles Joyner, who is who's a very, very good fighter in the Cage Warriors division. Now, he went all 3 rounds and drew Yannick Bahati. I actually picked him coming into the next fight. He got knocked out in 4 seconds, but look, these things happen in MMA. But I really like Jordan O'Neill. He's good on the ground, good standing up. There's no weakness in his game, I don't think. And Mitchell Good at 2-1. He's a very good win over Ty Palmer last time out. He's very, very good on the ground. But I feel like Jordan O'Neill might be good enough to stop what he's good at, and take him to deep water, for want of a better term. But he's been around fighting for a long time as well. Loads of fight as an amateur. He fought Christian Leroy Duncan as an amateur even. So yeah, he's been around for a while. But I definitely favour Jordan O'Neill in that fight. And again, what did I say? It was minus 215 or something like that. Minus 250. I think that's a pretty good price. I think it is. Another one, the last bit of the week that I think is a very good price as well. And you might call this a little bit of bias here, but Eimear Darcy from Ireland is minus 160 in her fight, and I was stunned to see she was minus 160. Now her Her opponent, Katerina Rykiova, haven't seen too much of her, to be honest. From the bits and pieces I have seen, she's not a bad fighter. She fought a few times in the IMAFs, and 1-0 as a pro and a very early finish there. But I think Eimear Darcy, after losing to Daniela Sanchez in April of last year, bounced back. I think, and she won her last fight. I believe she had another fight scheduled and fell out through injury, so she's coming back here. But it was only in September. It's only around 8 weeks or so since she had her last fight, and a very good win there. Win 15 minutes, which will really benefit her. Like I've said this about Eimear Darcy for a while. She's a very, very good athlete, very young. Has a lot of amateur experience as well. Fought some good people like a Carrie-Anne Vernon and Sarah Elliott Sheridan on the local scene around here in the IMA. One in the IMA, one over in our Euro Championships was Jackie McAleenan's promotion, who do very, very good stuff as well. I think she's a very good prospect and a fighter that we could hear a lot more about in the future, fighting a flyweight now as well. I like her in this fight. I think she's going to be the longer fighter. I think she can use that jab, and I think she has big power as well. We've seen a few head kicks from her and stuff. So, I'm looking forward to seeing that fight, and I fancy Eimear Darcy to win that fight. So that is the 5th bet of the week. So overall, I'm going for Asku plus 150, Legierski at minus 175, plus 110 for Aiden Lee, O'Neill at minus 250, and Darcy at plus 160. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please bet responsibly. My name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.